Hello students, we are studying the chapter tax free incomes. Under that we are discussing death cum retirement gratuity. Under that we have solved some problems. In this session let us solve some more problems relating to death cum retirement gratuity. See this problem. Akash retires from service on 28th February of the previous year after serving for 30 years, 6 months and 4 days. He received rupees 2,60,000 as gratuity. His last salary was basic 13,000, DA that is fixed amount rupees 1,000. The annual increment of rupees 200 falls due in January. Compute his taxable gratuity if he is covered under Payment of Gratuity Act. Second one, he is not covered under Payment of Gratuity Act. Here you have to consider Akash retirement gratuity covered under Payment of Gratuity Act and not covered under Payment of Gratuity Act, and you have to calculate his taxable gratuity amount. See the problem. Akash retires from service on 28th February of the previous year. Note down this date and month, 28th February, after serving for 30 years, 6 months and 4 days. For he is covered under Payment of Gratuity Act, you have to round off this months into one full year because it is more than 6 months, that is 6 months 4 days. So, for covered under Payment of Gratuity Act, you have to consider 31 years as his service in that company, and for not covered under Payment of Gratuity Act, you have to ignore fraction of the year, that is you have to ignore 6 months and 4 days. You have to just consider 30 years for calculation of gratuity amount, that is number of serving years in the company. Next see. He received rupees 2,60,000 as gratuity. This is the actual gratuity amount received that you have to write. Next, his last salary was basic 13,000. Last salary means it is the salary of the month January, that is his last month of service in the company was 13,000 and DA fixed amount, that is 1,000 rupees. For covered under Payment of Gratuity Act, salary means basic plus DA. But for not covered under Payment of Gratuity Act, in this problem you have to consider only basic. You have to ignore DA because unless otherwise stated that DA, that is dearness allowance, is retirement benefit, you have to ignore DA for calculation of gratuity under not covered under Payment of Gratuity Act. Remember that point. Under not covered you have to ignore DA because here it is not mentioned that it is a retirement benefit. If they mention that that is retirement benefit, then only you can consider that DA for calculation of his gratuity. Next see. The annual increment of 200 falls due in January. Here annual increment every year they make in the month of January. That means for this 13,000, in this 13,000, 200 is included because increment is in January, and here they have given last month's salary, that is January's salary. That means in this 13,000 this 200 is included. For not covered under Payment of Gratuity Act, to calculate the 10 months average salary, you have to consider 13,000 for only 1 month, that is for January, and for other 9 months, that is before January, you have to consider only 12,800, that is 13,000 minus this 200 increment because it falls due in January only, not in the previous months. Compute his taxable gratuity amount. Let us solve this problem. See, when he is covered under Payment of Gratuity Act, computation of taxable gratuity is as follows. You have to draw 3 columns, 1 particulars and 2 amount columns. In this, first you have to write amount of gratuity received and you have to deduct list of the following from gratuity exempt under section 10 subsection 10. That 3 items are actual amount received or 15 days salary for each year of completed service and statutory limit. Covered under Payment of Gratuity Act, statutory limit is 20 lakhs. See this problem now. Amount of gratuity received as stated in the problem amounts to rupees 2,60,000. You have to deduct list of the following gratuity exempt under section 10 subsection 10. First, actual amount received, you have to write 2,60,000 directly given in the problem. Next, 15 days salary for each year of completed service. Here last month's salary you have to consider for calculation of 15 days salary. Here last month's salary, that is January's salary, is 13,000 plus DA. Covered under Payment of Gratuity Act, you have to consider DA even if it is not stated as retirement benefit. That is why you are considering DA. The total of his salary, basic plus DA, is equal to 14,000. You have to consider for 15 days. That is why 15 by 26. 26 is number of working days in a month. Multiplied by number of years of service. He served in the company for 30 years, 6 months and 4 days. That fraction of years is more than 6 months. That is why you are considering as 31 years. So, the total amount of gratuity for 15 days salary for each year of completed service amounts to rupees 2,50,385. This is the round off figure. If you get any fraction amount, you have to convert it into nearest 1 rupee. That is why you are considering this 385. It is actually 384.61 something. You are rounding off this figure here. And statutory limit is 20 lakhs. You can directly write this amount. List of the following you have to consider here. List of the following is 2,50,385, that is 15 days salary, that you have to deduct from the amount of gratuity received. When you deduct it from amount of gratuity received, you get 9,615 rupees as taxable gratuity. It is covered under the Payment of Gratuity Act. In the problem, next they asked, he is not covered under Payment of Gratuity Act. This is the notes. Last drawn salary means basic plus DA is considered. In excess of 6 months is taken as 1 year. Next, see, not covered under the Payment of Gratuity Act. First, see the notes. First one, salary means average salary for last 10 months prior to the month of retirement. Prior to the month of retirement means February salary you should not consider. Prior to the month means you have to start from January. January and previous 9 months you have to consider for calculation of average salary. Here DA is to be excluded unless otherwise stated. Here unless otherwise they stated it as a retirement benefit, you have to ignore DA. You should not consider DA, remember that point. Fraction of the year is to be ignored. Here you cannot consider fraction of years even if it is more than 6 months. You have to just ignore that fraction of years. Next, computation of average salary for 10 months with an increment only in January, that is 13,000 into 1 month, because every year increment falls in the month of January. Here he is retiring in the month of February, so only in January he is getting increment of 200, that is included in 13,000, and in previous 9 months it is 12,800, that is without increment you have to consider. Total of these two amounts to rupees 1,28,200 divided by 10, because you have to consider average salary of last 10 months. Average salary of last 10 months amounts to rupees 12,820. It is the average salary of last 10 months excluding DA. See the computation. Amount of gratuity received 2,60,000 less gratuity exempt under section 10 subsection 10. Calculation is same under covered under gratuity act and not covered under gratuity act. Only second point changes, that is there you have to consider 15 days salary, here you have to consider half month's salary for each completed year of service, and here statutory limit also is less, that is 10 lakhs only. Now see, less gratuity exempt under section 10 subsection 10. First one, actual amount received 2,60,000. Second one, half month salary for each year of completed service. You already calculated half month salary on the basis of previous 10 months salary, that is 12,820 divided by 2, that is half months 1 by 2 you are considering, and 30 years. In this type you are considering only 30 years because you have to ignore fraction of years, even though that fraction of year is more than 6 months. That is why only 30 years you are considering. The total of this amounts to rupees 1,92,300 rupees, and statutory limit under not covered under payment of gratuity act 10 lakhs. Remember this point, this amount changes for both cases. Here it is 10 lakhs. Least of the following is 1,92,300. You have to deduct this amount from amount of gratuity received 2,60,000. When you deduct 1,92,300 from the actual gratuity amount received, you get taxable gratuity as 67,700 rupees. So it is his taxable gratuity amount under, he is not covered under payment of gratuity act. This is the problem relating to Mr. Akash. This type of problem may come for 4 marks or 8 marks. So be careful and read these type of problems thoroughly. Next, let us solve one more problem under this concept relating to Avinash. See this problem. Avinash retired from service on 30th November 2019 after serving for 25 years and 6 months. His basic was rupees 8,000 on 1st January 2019 and the annual increment of rupees 250 falls due on 1st July every year. He gets 30% of his basic as DA. During the year, he also received commission of 1% on the sales turnover of 20 lakhs achieved during the last 10 months prior to the month of retirement. DA is considered for retirement benefits. Avinash received a gratuity of 2,30,000. Earlier, he had received 25,000 as gratuity, which was then exempt. Compute taxable gratuity if he is covered under payment of gratuity act and he is not covered under the payment of gratuity act. Let us solve this problem. See the problem once again. Avinash retired from his service on 30th November 2019 after serving for 25 years 6 months. Here he served for 25 years 6 months. Here 6 months you should ignore for both cases, that is, he is covered under payment act or payment of gratuity act also. You have to ignore this 6 months because it is not exceeding 6 months. So his number of years of service is 25 years in that company. His basic was 8,000 on 1st January 2019. Remember, this amount of basic is not in the previous month. It is in January, 8,000 rupees. But he is retiring in the month of November. Remember that point. And the annual increment of 250 falls due on 1st July every year. Here in this 8,000 rupees, this 250 is not included because this 8,000 rupees is on 1st January, but the increment of 250 falls due on 1st July. That means in the previous month of his retirement, that is in the month of October, this 250 is not included, but you have to include this 250 in this 8,000 rupees. So his basic salary in the month of October, that is prior to the month of retirement, amounts to rupees 8,250 rupees. Note down that point. And see the next point. He gets 30% of his basic as DA. 30% of basic means for covered under payment of gratuity act, 8,250. 30% of that 8,250 you have to consider as DA. And here, for not covered under payment of gratuity act, unless otherwise it is stated that it is retirement benefit, you should not consider DA. But in this problem, they mentioned that DA is considered for retirement benefit. So you have to consider this 30% amount for not covered under payment of gratuity act also. Next, see the next one. He also received a commission of 1% on the sales turnover of 20 lakhs achieved during the last 10 months prior to the month of retirement. For covered under payment of gratuity act, salary means basic plus DA only. But in case of not covered under payment of gratuity act, salary means basic plus DA plus a commission. Remember that point. So you have to consider this commission of 1% on 20 lakhs, that is rupees 20,000, for the calculation of salary amount for not covered under payment of gratuity act. Okay, note down that point also. Next, see, DA is considered for retirement benefit. That means you have to consider it for not covered under payment of gratuity act also. Avinash received a gratuity of rupees 2,30,000. That is his actual amount of gratuity received. From this amount you have to deduct least of 3 things. Next, earlier he had received 25,000 as gratuity, which was then exempt. 25,000 he earlier received as a gratuity, that you have to deduct from the statutory limit in both cases, because any gratuity received earlier must be deducted from the statutory limit of this assessment year. Okay, here compute taxable gratuity if he is covered under payment of gratuity act and not covered under payment of gratuity act. Let us solve this problem. See, first you have to calculate taxable gratuity when he is covered under payment of gratuity act. See the notes. Salary means basic plus DA, that is last drawn. Here he is retiring in the month of November. So you have to consider salary of the month October. Here in the month of October, 8,000 plus 250 he is receiving as basic, because this 8,000 is the amount of salary on 1st January and 250 increment falls due in July. So you have to add these two to get the salary of October. The salary, total salary is, that is basic, is 8,250 plus DA. DA amounts to rupees 2,475. That is the 30% of 8,250 amounts to rupees 2,475. So his total salary amounts to rupees 10,725. That is 8,250 plus 2,475. Next, see, 25 years service is taken as the part of service because that does not exceed 6 months. That is exactly 6 months. It does not exceed 6 months. That is why you have to ignore that months, that is fraction of the year. Computation of taxable gratuity. The computation is same. In this there is no any changes. The same thing you have to write. Amount of gratuity received 2,30,000. From that you have to deduct list of the following under gratuity exempt under section 10 subsection 10. There are three things. First one, actual amount received 2,30,000. Under covered under payment of gratuity act, you have to consider 15 days salary for each year of completed service. Here 15 days salary includes last month's basic plus DA, that amounts to rupees 10,725 that you have already calculated, multiplied by 15 because 15 days salary you are calculating, divided by 26, that is number of working days in a month, multiplied by number of years of service 25 in this case. The total amount of 15 days salary for 25 years amounts to rupees 1,54,688. Here 687 point something is there. You have to round off that figure into nearest 1 rupee. That is why 688. Next, statutory limit is 20 lakhs, but he previously received 25,000 gratuity amount. That amount you have to deduct from statutory limit because already received gratuity you already deducted from statutory limit. So his actual statutory limit in this case is 19,75,000. Least of the following you have to consider. Here the least is 15 days salary, that is 1,54,688. When you deduct this amount from actual amount of gratuity received, you get taxable gratuity as 75,312 rupees. Here exempted amount of gratuity from this 2,30,000 is 1,54,688. On remaining 75,312 rupees he must pay tax. So this is covered under payment of gratuity act. Next, let us calculate his taxable gratuity considering he is not covered under the payment of gratuity act. Under this salary means basic plus DA plus commission paid as a percentage of turnover. Here you are considering DA because in the problem they particularly mentioned that DA is considered as retirement benefit. That is why you are considering DA. Otherwise you have to ignore DA under not covered under payment of gratuity act. Here basic means basic of last 10 months average salary, that you have to calculate. Before that, see the second note. Average salary for last 10 months prior to the month of retirement is considered. How to calculate that average salary of 10 months? See this one. Basic with increment for last 4 months because increment falls due in the month of July. He retired in the month of November. So, from July to October you have to consider basic as basic plus increment during the year, that is 8,250 for 4 months, that is from the month when the increment is falls due, that is July, and next 3 months, that is August, September, October, because in the month of November he retired, that is why you should not consider November. So from July to October, 4 months basic with increment you have to consider. The total is 33,000, and rest of 6 months without increment, that is only 8,000 for 6 months, that is before July, that amounts to rupees 48,000. So total basic amounts to rupees 81,000 for 10 months, and here you have to consider 30% of basic as DA. Of this 81,000, 30% you have to consider. 30% of this 81,000 amounts to rupees 24,300, that is DA, and commission paid as 1% of total turnover for last 10 months you have to consider. Here total turnover of last 10 months prior to the month of retirement amounts to rupees 20 lakhs. 1% of 20 lakhs means 20,000 as commission you have to consider. So the total salary, that is average salary of 10 months you have to calculate now. His total salary for 10 months amounts to rupees 1,25,300. 10 you have to divide that amount by 10 to get average salary of 10 months. So average salary of 10 months amounts to rupees 12,530. Now you can calculate the taxable gratuity. See, calculation is similar. Amount of gratuity received 2,30,000 rupees. From that you have to deduct least of the following. First one, actual amount received 2,30,000. Second one, half month's salary for each year of completed service. Average salary of 10 months you have to consider 12,530 divided by 2, that is half months, that is why divided by 2 into 25, that is completed years of service, 1,56,625. Statutory limit for not covered under Payment of Gratuity Act is 10 lakhs and not 20 lakhs. From that you have to deduct previously received gratuity amount exempted previously. So when you deduct that amount, statutory limit is 9,75,000. Least of the following you have to consider. Here least is 1,56,625, that is half month salary. When you deduct that amount from amount of gratuity received, taxable gratuity amounts to rupees 73,375. That is the taxable gratuity of Mr. Avinash, considering him as not covered under Payment of Gratuity Act. Okay. This is the problem relating to Avinash. Go through this problem once again and solve this problem by yourself. You will understand better. Let us solve some more problems in the next session, and let us stop this session here. Thank you.